Welcome to Seeing with Your Soul, the podcast aimed to inspire you to find your voice and become the best, truest, and most authentic version of yourself. Spiritually intimate, soul-to-soul conversations, life-changing insights, and spiritual teaching and healing. Real, raw, unfiltered. Join your host, Tisha Michelle.
To another episode of Seeing with Your Soul with me, Tisha Michelle, your host. What's up, guys? All right, so just to keep it real, right now I am recording this as I am driving, and it's because this has popped into my head, and I just want to talk to y'all. So if the audio sounds a little off, I'm sorry. All right, so I get the most of my profound droppings, downloads, messages, ideas when I'm in that in between sleep stage. So I get a lot of messages from God, from my spirit guides, angels, whoever is hollering at me. I get those messages there because one, you're in that relaxed state. So I'm not worrying. I'm not thinking about a whole bunch of stuff. I'm not allowing fear. I'm in that in between. I'm asleep. So I am asleep, but I'm to the point that I can still hear. And I got this message, and it was probably, I would just have to say it was probably around between 3 and 4 a.m. And I heard, you can't lead by being uncertain. And I'm like, what? And it just kept playing over on this loop. You can't lead by being uncertain. And it just kept going over and over and over. And that's what happens. I'll hear it in that in-between stage, and I'll hear it over and over and over. And then all of a sudden, it's like I wake up and I'm like, and I had that jolt, and I was like, you're right. And I started to reflect back on things, and it's like, I am so confused right now in my life of where to go, what to do, how I want to do it. And I'm like, that doesn't come from God. God doesn't provide confusion, right? So we start there. And how can I lead my path, my journey, as well as my household, like my children? Because decisions that I make or decisions that I don't make affect other people. And I need to be certain. I need to take control of this situation or situations, right? So if you are in a space right now of confusion, of chaos, just know that's not coming from God. And when I say God, I do not want to offend anyone. I'm talking about whatever you consider to be your higher power. And I just happen to say God. And it's not where it's coming from. So it is up to us to take control and take leadership of our situation. What do they say? No one's coming to save us. That's so freaking true. But for some reason, there's a part of us that's just sitting and just waiting for someone to come and save us, waiting for someone to come and make these decisions. And that is what is happening, right? We'll wait for other people to make decisions because we are afraid of making the decision. But when someone else is making decisions for you, whether that is family, that is friends, that is your society, that is just TV, the programming, whatever it is, it ends up causing a lot of chaos and confusion and fear because it's not ours. And it never was meant for it to be for us. It's coming from someone else who's looking at things and from a different lens and a different perspective. So we have to take control. And it also starts by asking yourself, what do you want? What do you want? And if you start to feel like restrictions and things that are popping up in those fears, you got to say, we're not going there right now. The only thing that we are answering is, what do you want? What do you truly want to experience in this life? It is a blessing to wake up every single day. And those of you who have been following this podcast for a while, I talk about that with my best friend Gloria, who passed away. She went to sleep and didn't wake up. And I've always taken advantage of the fact that I woke up. I never looked at it as a blessing. I never looked at it as another opportunity to walk in my purpose, another opportunity to be reminded that I have a purpose, another opportunity to experience the shit out of life. I didn't look at that until end of 2017 when she did not wake up. So we have to take control of our situation. We have to just make a decision on what it is that we want and then work on gaining whatever that is. Because you cannot lead yourself, you cannot lead an organization, you cannot lead your family. You just cannot lead if you are uncertain. And um it was a little, to me it was like a punch in the gut, but a good one of like, Tisha, get your shit together. Get it together. What do you want? What do you want to experience? You do not have to be stuck in that loop, right? Because at that point, it's a choice. Like, you're choosing to stay in that loop. I'm choosing to stay in the loop. And unfortunately, sometimes that loop is just so familiar and that's just what you know, that you get trapped in it. And it's a trapment of not a physical sense, it's just a trapment in our mind, which is very, very, very powerful, right? So we have to break free from the trapment that we have in our mind of feeling or believing that this is it and this is all that I know. And you know what? That might be all that you know. And that's because that's all that you're choosing to know. That's all that I'm choosing to know. And now it's time to know something different. But how do you get to know something different? You choose a different experience. And it needs to be an experience other than the experience that you are constantly having. So again, it's about this leadership. And I hear people talk about leadership a lot and like running your organization and all these things, but that leadership has to start like within yourself. Taking leadership of yourself. Are you where you want to be? And this in breaking it down, not from the standpoint of where society says that we need to be. Or maybe wherever society says that you need to be is how you truly feel. And that's okay as well, right? That's a choice that you have to make. But it's about putting some time and some effort and some energy into breaking that down to say, what do I want? And why do I want this? Why? Why? One of the big things for me right now that I want to experience is I want to know what life is like without having to have a mortgage or pay rent. So I've rented my whole life and now I'm a owner. I have my own house. I own a house. So I have a mortgage. So I went from paying rent all those years to now paying mortgage. I want to know what that is like to no longer have to pay that. And I don't mean by being homeless. I'm meaning in the sense of creating something that I no longer have to pay a mortgage because I own it. Yeah, you still got to pay your little taxes. That's a whole other conversation. But I want to know what that's like. I want to know what that is like. That is something that I want to experience here in life. And we all have a choice of, of choosing what we want to experience, right? That's why a lot of people are leaving from the US and they're going to another country because the amount of money that you may pay for your mortgage or your rent, you could live off of that fully in another country. And they want that experience. And nothing is wrong with that. Nothing is wrong with wanting a different experience than what you had. And it might not be the usual. I don't want to see the normal because we try to normalize things, but who is to determine what normal is? It's more so the usual way, right? And I don't want to experience that anymore. So it starts by making a decision of an experience that you want to have. And then from there, you start to figure out or find ways to make that happen. But it has to start from what is it that you want? So this chaos, this uncertainty, any of that stuff, like it needs to stop. It needs to stop. And yeah, I'm telling you that it needs to stop, right? And I'm telling you that it needs to stop because I don't like the way that it makes me feel. So I'm going to project that onto y'all because then I would assume that it's making you feel the same way. So yes, I am 100% projecting my ish onto you guys because I know that I am not alone. I know that I'm not alone. I know you want another experience. I know you want a better experience, but you're in a place where you don't feel like you can get it or you don't see a way out because there's this story that is on repeat. It's on repeat. And there's this loop that's just constantly, 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 constantly going. And I don't want that for you because I don't want that for me. So let's make these changes together. And we can just keep it basic. grab you a piece of paper at the top of it and write, what do I want? And without worrying about grammar or the process of how I'm going to get it, just write. Just start writing. Just start dumping, listing things out. And when you feel like you wrote enough, take a deep breath and start writing again. And when you get to that place where you're like, no, I feel like I'm good. Okay, great. We're going to stop there. But we're just going to let that just sit in. Just read through it and read through your list once, just skim through it. Again, you already wrote it, so it's there. And just skim through it. Take a couple of deep breaths, go about your business, and come back to that later on in the day. And reread that list again. And look at that list and question every single thing. Why do I want that? And if you get to a part where you're just at a blank and you don't know, reread it again and ask yourself, why do I want that? And if you don't have a reason behind that thing, maybe you want to put a little line over it or something. Come back to that later. Go to the next thing. Why do I want that? And write that down. And if you're writing that and you realize that you want that because this is what you've seen and this is what someone said and you think that it's a good idea because you trust this other person and all that stuff, then you got to ask yourself, am I making these decisions based off of someone else? And if you're making it based solely off of someone else, cross that shit off. Cross it off. You don't need that because you're basing it off of someone else and that person is looking at it from a different lens than you. That person has a different journey. That person has a different story. And that's not your story. You're making it your story. You're inserting that into your life. Then when you start, you're like, why do I want that? And you're like, because I've experienced this for the past 30 years and I know the ending of the story and it keeps happening and I don't like the way that it makes me feel and it's affecting my health. It is affecting this. It is affecting that. And I want something different and this is the thing that I want. Bingo, let's go. Let's make that happen. And pay attention to how you're feeling when these certain things are coming up. Because if you notice that you're smiling, you're starting to feel good, you're starting to just tingle a little bit and stuff, you're onto something. Follow those breadcrumbs. That feels good. That feels good and it feels good in your body. Right? And one thing that I know for sure is that when you make a decision on whatever it is that you want, the universe and God and the universe, will start bringing it all together. I think a part of the issue and the pain and the suffering that we cause is because we're trying to figure it out, while stating what it is that we want versus coming from a place of yo, this is what I want. This is what I want. And I'm going to make it happen. Because at that point, the invitation is there. You're saying, hey, God, I'm open to change and I'm willing to rock this out. So what you got, right? Sometimes that boat gets very, very rocky because the thing that you are seeking, you have to remove something else in order to make room for that thing or those things that you are seeking. So it can feel a little uncomfortable. But that's only going to be a temporary thing unless you allow it to be your story. And that's where we start resisting things versus surrendering and getting to that place of surrendering. I was laying in the bed and it was another one of those in between. It wasn't as deep as that in between stage. But I remember just sighing and letting out this deep breath. And I literally said this in my mind. I was like, the only thing left for me to do is to surrender. And it kind of took me by surprise because I wasn't laying there and having my conversation with, God or anything of that sort. I thought I was just going to sleep. And it was like this deep release happened without me without me intentionally releasing. It just happened. And I said, the only thing left for me to do is surrender. And then I guess I just went to sleep. So when I woke up, I remember that happening. And instantly my mind started going to the, well, what does that mean? Like, what am I surrendering on for this? And like, well, what does it? And I said, Tisha, stop it. Just sit with it. You are letting God know that you are open to change and you are attached to nothing. The only thing that I can do right now is surrender, because everything else that I have done has caused me pain and suffering, because I'm trying to do this alone and it's not working anymore. It's just not working anymore. So if you are in a position right now where you feel like, I've tried everything, and when we say everything, that's based off of our capability, based off of the level of consciousness that we have. You have tried everything. And if you feel like you have done everything, maybe the next thing to do the next thing for you to do is to surrender. And what that surrender looks like, you can just say, hey God, it's me again, what's up? All right, I'm over my shit. I'm getting out of my own way. I am open to change and I'm attached to nothing. Show me what you got. Simple as that. Right? And you like, you put your hands up. And then you let God go to work. God's not against you. The universe isn't against you. Doesn't want to see you suffering. Like that's shitty. That's crazy. Like, no. You're here on earth. You made it here. You're waking up every day. So experience the shit out of life. And experience it on your terms, the way that you want to experience it, not based off of anybody else. That's what I got for you guys on my morning drive. Until next time, bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Seeing with Your Soul. If something you heard resonated with you, feel free to rate, review, and share with others. If you're looking to go deeper, you can connect with Tisha Michelle on Instagram at Mindset Slayer or visit www.healingalignglow.com.